بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وآل بيته
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. In the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Alif Lam Mim. Do men think that they will be left alone on saying, we believe, and they have not been tried? وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهَ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْكَاذِبِينَ. And surely we have tried those before them, and certainly Allah will know those who were truthful and those who were lying. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم I've always felt that the story of Imam Hussein is the culmination of this particular ayah. That people feel that somehow they will be left alone when they say, I believe, as if that's enough. And that Allah is not going to try to see if their actions match what their mouth is saying. They forget that belief is not just something that you say. Belief is a change that has an effect inside your heart, and it comes out through your limbs, and it shows itself over time, over patience, over bearing with suffering, over bearing with hardships. That without test, without pressure on it, without test of good times and bad times and loss of life and threats to yourself and your money and your children, that you can't be sure that this is belief. To give us a little bit of perspective, we have to look at what was going on historically at the time of Imam Hussein. One of the things people lose is they don't know exactly where in history this is, meaning not historically as for the year, meaning where in history as for the cycle of human growth. We have different cycles of human growth. One of them is this time of Jahiliyyah, where you have a society that has got so far away from the prophets that they don't even remember what the prophet said. Just some old remnants of what the belief was before that now has been mixed with other cultures, now it's been mixed with other religions, now it's been mixed with wrong stuff, to the point that the society is in Jahiliyyah. Jahiliyyah doesn't mean that they don't have any akhlaq, they don't have any ahkam, but the ahkam and the akhlaq and the rules and the beliefs of the Prophet are now mixed, confused, lost, and so the people are. Imam Hussein did not happen at this time. In a society, it was just complete Jahiliyyah. Imam Hussein did not happen at the time which comes afterwards, which is the generation which is saying that this has gone on long enough. We have to fight for it, for what we believe. We have to make a change. We have to make a truth. We have to make a stand. So, Imam Hussein did not happen in this generation. Meaning like at the time of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the young people were the ones who really believed in him. If you notice, he was a little older than the majority of his companions. A lot of them were the young people. The young people were the ones. He was calling it out, but he was one of the younger of the older group. But the rejectors were of the generation before, that they had been enjoying the Jahiliyyah. They were enjoying the confusion of the people. They were benefiting from how much they were lost. So he's making a call of correction. And it resonated with the people who had seen that this has gone on far enough. And so after years of fighting and this, that, and the other, this was the generation that now made the changeover. So these people, when they were maybe 25, 20, 18, were like Amir al-Mu'mineen, younger than that, when he's making his call. So remember, when he's making his call, we forget this. That the Abu Jahls and things were rejected. No, it's wrong, we don't listen. The Abu Lahabs were, we reject. Abu Lahab's sons were Muslims. There were some other people who didn't run in the battle of Hunayn. Abu Jahl's son became Muslim. So some of the ones maybe they wouldn't say anything, they would go along with their father, but it resonated that what he was saying was true. So this is the next generation, the Amir al-Mu'mineen generation, a little bit older, Zayd bin Haritha, Ja'far, Tayyar, these type of people. Some of them managed to survive, and these people stood with Amir al-Mu'mineen to stand up to Muawiyah. A lot of them ended up being shaheed. The ones who survived and went on to make the next generation, but the old guard changed at that time. Because remember, this is now years and years and years. So the generation of the Prophet, the 20 years or so, those people 20 years younger, 20 years older, they passed on. Then it was the generation that grew up in the time of the Khulafa Rashideen, as they were called. Then Muawiyah became in charge for 20 years. So now we have to think, the old guard were the ones who were Imam Hussein's age. This was the old guard. These were the decision makers. These were the people who now had power. These were the people who had money. These were the people who could do something. These were the people who could stand up and say, no, we can't, this can't go on anymore. So now these people who were born in the lifetime of the Prophet had maybe some faint memories of Jahiliyyah, but their whole life they had grown up under Islam and seen that this had worked. This is the old guard. This is the 60-year-olds. The younger people than that had never even seen Jahiliyyah. They didn't know what it was about. They had all accepted Islam. They also were fairly knowledgeable as a group about the laws of Islam. That's, I think, one of the things that's kind of, we forget. They were knowledgeable. They were close to the time. It's not like now that you have to go and read a hadith and this, that. At this time they were close, so if they had a question about fiqh, how do we pray, they could just go to the local masjid, and there was a guy who either he had seen the Prophet pray or his father had seen it. So it wasn't really, you don't have to go and do tafsir and this and that. So they were aware of the rules of Islam. They had some, they didn't have deep developed aqaid, how we do, but they had the tawheed, they had the la ilaha. A lot of these things had now been accepted, and it wasn't even a matter of dispute. So these were not people who were ignorant on those levels. But two things about them. These were the children of the people who the Quran is talking about. Don't say that you believe, say that you surrender. Meaning their father, the one who brought them into Islam, or their grandfather, had not really believed. He just realized that it was a lost cause trying to support idol worship. So now they had come into Islam, so now the beliefs and the ideals were there, but completely on a theoretic level. They hadn't been tested, they hadn't been tried, they hadn't been pushed. They hadn't battled for this, they hadn't earned it, they hadn't won it. So now these people, the old guard was already weak, and then the new guard was now, but the new guard was more idealistic, meaning they understood and liked the ideals of Islam, but now they weren't old enough to put this into practice. And the old guard was weak. The thing that had made them weak was that there was years and years and years of corruption by the previous old guard. And we like to point at, the first Khalifa or the second Khalifa, but they were not the cause. They were the result of the corruption of the other people. That after the striving and struggling that they had done, they got tired. They had strived and struggled and fought to bring the Islam to the forefront. They got tired. They wanted to benefit and wanted to sit back and put their hands on their laurels. There was a few like Abu Zar. No, I fought you yesterday. I'll fight you today. today, I'll fight you in the future. I don't care if I'm poor and I'm hungry and it's just me and my stick. There was a few people who were like that. And they would get shown out, the Ammar bin Yasir type people that stuck to their principles, every last thing. You know what the Prophet is saying, that you left the big jihad, the little jihad, and went to the big jihad? Staying with your principles at a time of raha is harder. Staying with your principles when everybody else is collecting the goodies for having won is harder, much harder than doing the jihad in the first place. It's easier at a time when you're madloom to go over and take your sword and go out and fight and defend yourself in the cause of Allah. That's easy. But now that you won, now that you received nasr, now that they're dividing out the goods, now that you have to stay by your principles and say, now I need to fight. Now it's an internal battle, not an external battle. Now it's the zalim inside me that, okay, now that I've won, should I get myself in a bigger seat? I deserve it. I fought really hard. Maybe I don't deserve it according to Islam, but I have the connections now that can get it to me. It's hard to say no. So these people failed on that when they got scared. I fought and I fought and I fought and I fought and I fought, and now I have a house. And yeah, they were mujahid when it was just them, their wife was young, their kids were 3 years old. But now that they're responsible, now they're a shaykh, now they have debts, now they have this, now they have that. The zalim comes and says, you know what? It's interesting. A person will fight fi sabilillah if you threaten him for his life. Put his life on the line. You give them this sort of day-to-day hardship and they'll crack. You know what? We're just going to jack up your taxes. Every time you try to do business, oh, we're going to have to skip you over for some reason. That type of jihad is harder. The older brothers are going to know this. They had people who were with them when they were younger. We're going to bring Islam to America. We're not going to change ourselves one bit until every person here is Muslim. They were out doing, handing out pamphlets, being willing to be embarrassed, all this type of stuff. As the time went on, you get this, that, and you get tired. You get bored. All of those type of things, they happen. So now these people, because of their different types of ba'af that they had, weaknesses in their iman that they had, now these people had raised the next generation with this type of thing. That they had become self-centered, that they had become worldly. Even though their aqaid in theory was in place. Their fiqh in theory was in place. Now, the thing though that this is what happens. When you have weaknesses in your iman and your akhlaq and you haven't been tried, it doesn't show those weaknesses yet. When I was reading this, looking for this one verse, then I came across these other ones. We had the first one about ahasibat nasu an yatraku. Do men think that they'll be left unless they're tried? This is another one from Hujarat. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Innamal mu'minuna alladhina amanu billahi wa rasulihi thumma lam yartabu wa jahadu bi amwalihim wa anfusihim fi sabilillah ulaika humus sadiqin. That surely those who are believers are those who believe in Allah and His Prophet and then don't get doubtful and shaky. And they do jihad with themselves and their money, and these are the truthful ones. Sometimes jihad with your money is giving your money. It's funny, this is the easier one. People don't realize this. It's easier. An easier jihad is that, oh, okay, there's a mu'min there, I'm going to give him some money. A harder jihad is, I'm not going to take that job because it's Muharram. That's a harder jihad. Especially when it's easy. Especially when nobody's going to know. That's the easy one. With your anfus, it's easier the one to go out into battle. Spending your time every day, teaching your kids, those ones are sometimes harder. Living like the imam is harder than dying like the imam. It's easier to do the second part. But if you don't do the first part, it's hard to do the second part. If you don't do the jihad fi sabilillah, meaning with your amwal, meaning that you're rejecting the mal haram, then it's harder to do the later on, the other one. If you don't live your life and put your time and organization and your effort in the way of Allah, it's harder in the time where you're actually called upon to put your body on the line. It's actually easier the other way around. We saw this with some of the present day events, that when they would have the call for jihad amongst the believers who were true believers, it was actually kind of relaxing. They would go easily to that. It was harder in their daily life. Their daily, everyday, being a good person, being on the right path, it was easier when they were called for to do jihad in certain areas. This is another one. وَمِنَ الرِّجَالِ وَمِنَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ رِجَالٌ صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ قَضِيَ نَحْبَهُ وَمِنْهُمْ مَا وَمَا بَدَّلُوا I left the word from the verse. صلي على محمد وعلى محمد. ومنهم من ينتظرون وما بدلوا تبديلا. So I left the word on my writing, but that's the correct one. Now, if you take a look at these different verses, one of them, the last one I read, is from Surah Ahzab. The other one was Hujarat. Both of these are geared towards the end of the Prophet's life. That there was people who were now being shaken and taken off of the path. But the lesson, going back to what we were talking about now, that which generation? So now we're into this last generation of people. That they're not the generation making the change. They're not the generation relaxing after the change. They're the generation that comes after. That now this is accepted. So now when they try to now do the right thing, all of the weaknesses, the akhlaqi weaknesses, the one that really stands out is that their weakness at that time was materialism, which happens even now, and tribalism. Meaning that they were more loyal to their tribe and their tribal units and their positions rather than to their religion. And one of their reasons for not accepting the Bani Umayyah, like, there was a mixture of course, Iman and these higher principles, but the other one was they wanted to get their old tribal positions back. So they were looking for a worldly benefit. The other thing was that they thought it was going to be easy, because the wali of Medina was a pushover. So they were like, okay. I mean, the wali, I'm sorry, of Kufa. Both Medina and Kufa, to be honest, were both pushovers. They were not strong, tough-hearted individuals. So they're like, okay, it's going to be a cakewalk. We're just going to say that we want Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein will come. We'll make bay'ah. There's a little guy, we bat out the way. We march on Kufa, on Damascus with 100,000 men. Easy peasy. And they had heard about Badr and things like that, and they it's going to be easy. And remember, they saw what the companions had done with strength of Iman, and somehow imagined they could do that without the same strength of Iman. They saw that the companions of the Prophet had fought Rome and Persia at the same time. Yeah, but these were the companions of the Prophet who he had taught how to fight. With strength of Iman. So now you're going to go over there with weak Iman, with shaky Iman, with non-tested Iman, and now try to do the same thing. They said when Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad took over the castle in Kufa and kicked out the people who were following Muslim, Ibn Aqil, it was something like 20 people, not 20,000. Muslim Ibn Aqil, I don't know, 20,000, 70,000, here's some like ridiculous numbers that he had that he could get him. Ibn Ziyad starts threatening them. Oh, I'm going to kill your mom, I'm going to kill your cat, I'm going to kill your dog, I'm going to burn your house, making up stuff. Yeah, how are you going to kill anybody? You and your 20 people. They get scared. Oh, I'm going to give bribes to whoever joins my side. Are you going to give a bribe if you're dead when we kill you? The army of Damascus is going to come. The army of Damascus is a month away. I mean, Ba'ath al-Iman. And then also the second part is realizing somewhere in their heart, what did I say? Materialism. Oh, maybe my house will get burned down. Let me just play both sides of the fence, pull away from Muslims' army, and let somebody else do it. Get the dunya and the akhirah. Maybe a little bit of jealousy and tribalism. You see all these people coming to see Muslim ibn Aqil, and they're giving bay'ah for Imam Hussein and all that, and you feel, I wish that was me. So I'm not going to support the way I'm supposed to. One of the tribes in Kufa could have taken out Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. Some people say, oh, if only Muslim ibn Aqil had killed Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad when he was in the Bayt of, I think it was Hani or one of the other ones. Hani bin Urwa, I believe. Then he would have still had the same weak people who got scared off by the threats of a person, like basically the barking of a chained up dog, and he would have went to the battle and they would have ran away again. I mean, like, the problem was themselves. Even if they had somehow, even if, let's say, Ubaydullah bin Ziyad was on the way and he got sick and died on his own, the ba'ath and the weakness of these people was going to still be a problem. But one of the things that we like to do, unfortunately, is we say, oh, wait, that was the people back then. When we have ayats about nifaq, we say, that was some other people, that's not me. Remember, the munafiqeen think they're mu'mineen. Hum as-sufaha, that they say, believe as the people believe. They say, should we believe as the sufaha believe? Should we believe as the fools believe? And then Allah says, they're the fools. But they deceived themselves. So these people fool themselves. They think that this is belief. They think just saying, I believe in Allah and I believe in the Prophet is enough. I believe in Allah and I believe in the Imam is enough. I have knowledge and Iman, that's enough. No, unless you have been tested. Unless you are strong with it. But one of the things when I was thinking, that you have these different things. We're going to wrap up in just a minute. We have belief, aqaid, which is should be the foundation of our actions. If your aqaid is right, that can really hold a lot of things together. But you also need with that fiqh. If you don't have an understanding of fiqh, what to do and when to do it, and how to do it correctly, then that can have a problem. If you don't have akhlaq, that can also have a problem. You need these things together. It's not one other than the other. You also need to have wa'i siyasi, which is political awareness. That you understand the world around you. But even with all the other ones, is not enough. You still need to have taqwa, fear of Allah. If you have all of these, generally your actions can be okay. But there's one missing ingredient that if you don't have that and you have the other ones, it all falls apart. Which is the wilayat of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Please go, this wilayat, this hope of the Ahlul Bayt can cover over actually even slight weaknesses in the other parts. Meaning a person's fiqh is a little bit weak. But he's knowing that he has to be dutiful to his imam can cover that. His beliefs are a little bit weak. But knowing that he has to be dutiful to his imam can cover that. Any one of those different things, even his akhlaq can be a little bit weak. But knowing his duties to his imam can kind of cover that. Because what does the imam do? They go forward and they represent all of these things for you. If you're unaware of what you're supposed to do, you just look at the imam and do it. If you're unaware exactly of it, well, just look what the imam is doing right now and do it. It's similar to salat, right? We see that everything is in salat. Let's say I don't know how to recite salat perfectly. Something's wrong with my pronunciation. If the imam is reciting perfectly, doesn't that take care of mine? There's something wrong with my iman. Maybe I've done some sort of sin that Allah's doesn't want to hear from you. Don't come to me. Don't want to talk to you. But I'm praying behind someone who has good character, and so because of his good character, Allah accepts my salah too. He accepts the whole jama'ah. The same can work with all of these. Your fiqh, your akhlaq, your ahkam. Say, I don't know how to behave right now. Just keep quiet and let him talk for you. So the thing that could have saved them, that they had, which was weak, was their wilayat of the Ahlul Bayt. The other things were acceptably good, but their wilayat was weak. They didn't say, look, no matter what we do, whatever action comes out of ourselves, we have to be in obedience and following our imam. We can't be looking for some worldly benefit while our imam is getting harmed. We can't be looking for harm to be kept far from our wives and our children, but the household of the Prophet is getting harmed. That you have the daughter and the granddaughter of the Prophet being taken away and changed, but my wife somehow is safe and sound in my house. You have the son of the Prophet is getting his neck cut, but my son, I pulled my son out of the army. How can you live with yourself after that? I pulled my son out of the army? Because maybe he would, just to be on the safe side? And we see on the opposite side, the family of the Prophet showing you how to do it. They're pushing their son out there. They lock the door behind them, don't come back unless you're shaheed. They put their money, they put their time, they put their energy, they put their effort, everything into bringing forth the truth, standing up to power, giving Islam. They were, it's interesting, the household of the Prophet would benefit out of the Zat if they were going to offer Umar bin Sa'd the governorship of Ray to kill Imam Hussein. What would they have offered Imam Hussein to accept the Bayat of Yazid? They would have given him anything and everything. So they were surrendering from themselves. They're showing us how to do it. If you want to have Islam, if you want to have Islam for your children, if you want to have Islam for your grandchildren, this is the actions that we need to take. We have to be willing to give up any of these materialistic things. We have to be willing to give up any of these idealistic things which are batil. So we can't have, like nowadays we have a lot of them. I wrote some down. Just trying to wrap up. They had tribalism back in their time. We don't really have that. Not that, oh, my tribe is this or that. But we have a lot of other ones. We still have this capitalism and materialism. We still have that. Intellectualism. My intelligence is more important than what Allah said. And what I mean is like not trying to understand the ahkam of Allah. That Allah says this is wajib or not wajib, and we understand what Allah said, we read it in the Quran, we see it in the Hadith, no, it's still wrong. We see people, how many, you see them at the masjid, saying that. Sometimes racism. Oh, I'm not going to accept, somebody told me to my face, I'm not going to accept Imam Khomeini because he's white. So you did all this work, you went through Nation of Islam, you made yourself Sunni Muslim, you made yourself Shia Muslim, you went to Iran to study, you did this, you did that, you did jihad, you put your life on the line, and you bottled it off for racism. Feminism now they have. Say, oh yeah, I refuse the ayat, لِلْرِجَالِ مِثْلَ حَزَ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. I refuse that ayat. For the man is the like portion of two women. The Quran said it. It's not even a fatwa or something. They'll reject it. This individualism. Oh, I remember it because I had a problem with it. They said, if you're not able to understand Islam for yourself, because maybe you didn't study Arabic, you didn't do, you're not a mujtahid, you have to make taqleed of a mujtahid. Being an American, how could I not be able to understand for myself? Individualism. I remember even having a problem initially. I remember little. And you'd be surprised at how young people pick this up. I must have been about 14. You're reading in this and that, the other about, and you had the, coming from the Sunni akhlaq, that any person can be the Khalifa. If I can just be tough, mashallah, kicking the door, I can be the Khalifa. Then you start reading about Shiism and you're like, wait a minute, the Prophet chose Amir al-Mu'mineen. You say, okay, Amir al-Mu'mineen I can accept. I can accept. Why? 4,000 years ago, 1,400 years ago. But then it's like, no, and the Prophet chose the rest of the Imams. You can't be the Khalifa ever. And then I remember being little and the American culture not wanting to accept that Allah can, that shaitan even, that Allah can put somebody over me. It's strange that you would think, a lot of people, because people, they just go along with it, and you accept it maybe from birth, if you're born into Shiism. But if you're not, it's hard to deal with those sorts of things. But if you haven't purified those from your heart, at the time when you're called upon, this will be your moment of weakness. So before we go, we have please give a salawat for one of the families, the sponsors of the dinner. Do you have their names, brother? Haydar Barani. Please give a lot of salawat for their family.
Allah